So I became a civil rights lawyer after I had been practicing for a little bit, doing criminal defense and personal injury, and I was happy with doing car wrecks and misdemeanors until I met a client of mine, Jesse Jacobs, and I did a case for him, a misdemeanor, DWI. He was only going to do a few days in jail until when he got to jail, the jail refused to give him his medication. Now, it was important because he was on Xanax, and he had been on it for 10 years. And when he went to the jail, he went with everything that he needed. A letter from his doctor, prescriptions, everything to show that he had a legal prescription. They wouldn't give him his medication, and after he went without medication for a few days, he had a seizure. And after he had a seizure, instead of them calling the hospital, they put him in a solitary cell. And that's where he remained every day until the last day he was there. And that's when he was found unresponsive in his cell. He has had seizures every day. He was in that solitary cell, and nobody called a hospital or ambulance for him. They just allowed him to stay there until it was very necessary, when he was unresponsive in his cell. And even then, they wouldn't call the ambulance. They had to go get ammonia salts first and make sure he wasn't faking before they even called an ambulance. So he ended up going to the hospital, and Jesse died the next day. His parents crushed. They called me, and I could not believe it. I looked at ways to blame myself and what I could have done to prevent it. Fortunately for me, they did not look at that. They looked at me as a person, as an ally, as somebody to help them get justice and truth, and they tasked me with a job that I never thought I could do, and that's find out what happened to their son and seek justice for him in federal court. They asked me to sue a police sheriff, a county, a medical facility in federal court. I had never filed a federal case in my life. And so they gave me that task, and I owed it to Jesse to rise to that task. And we did it together, and we were successful. And Jesse's story is now known and told throughout the world. And so now whenever somebody looks for an attorney that has to deal with suing a jail, suing a sheriff, suing a medical provider that fails to provide adequate care to an inmate, then they call me. And in addition to that, they call me for excessive force cases, when an officer has abused his authority and shot somebody or abused somebody in some way, or when an officer wrongfully arrests somebody. That was from my own experience. When an officer lied and trumped up charges and arrests the person, I'm the person that they look to now. So it's something that I would have never done without Jesse and his family. And so I'm forever appreciative. But I will say this, I will give it all up at any given time if I could go back to that day that Jesse turned himself in jail, and I was able to make the sheriff give him his medication. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would take all this blessing away. If I could be back to my same old personal injury lawyer and criminal defense lawyer and have Jesse still here. So although I'm thankful, I would give it up for that. And that's my story.